Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Microsoft Post Build 2024 session. So, every year, Microsoft organizes Build, both on site and virtual events. In Build, Microsoft presents an opportunity for developers, students, engineers, and technology professionals to learn more about the Microsoft products. So the post-build activities are the part of Microsoft product build where you can join and learn about different Microsoft technologies. My name is Gulnaz Mushtaq, and as you can see on the screen, our today's session is all about understanding Microsoft Fabric data analytics and preparing for the most popular exam, and its code is DP-600. So we are going to have a very knowledgeable session with our very amazing speaker, Mr. Abu Bakr Alvi. So Mr. Abu Bakr Alvi is a Fabric and Power BI expert. He is a consultant and he is also a Microsoft certified trainer. Also, he is an author as well, and he has been awarded the Tamgha Imtiaz by the government, and it is really an honor for everyone. So I would like to invite Mr. Abu Bakr Alvi to present his session. So Mr. Abu Bakr Alvi, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Gulnaz. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me now share my screen. Please let me know if you see the screen.
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay, let me just maximize this so that everyone can see this. Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to talk about Microsoft Fabric and specifically a very hot topic for the last probably, I think, 2 to 3 weeks, which was the DP-600 exam, because a couple of months back, I think it was in April, that Microsoft had given this opportunity through the AI challenge that people can avail 100% discount on the voucher for a lot of exams. And I'm not surprised that a lot of people opted for the DP-600 exam, which is the exam that makes you certified on Microsoft Fabric. So today I'm going to just briefly talk about Microsoft Fabric and DP-600 because I was not sure what kind of audience would be there. So most people probably would not have an understanding of what Microsoft Fabric is. So I'm assuming that most of the people who have joined this webinar, they're not aware of Microsoft Fabric. So if somebody is aware, then they can, some of the stuff would be probably they would already be familiar with it. But my focus is to make everybody aware about what Microsoft Fabric is, and then we are going to talk about the DP-600 preparation exam. So if I go and just talk about briefly, although Gulnaz has given an introduction, so I'll just specify the experience that I've had using Microsoft tools. So out of the 25 years of experience as a professional, I have been working with Power BI primarily and now with the Fabric ecosystem there for the last 1 year. For the last 5-6 years, I've been working with Power BI, and I'm certified 4x certified in Power in Azure, including the DP-500, PL-300, DP-600, and the DP-203. So I am also a Microsoft certified trainer, just like Gulnaz mentioned, and I've been working as a Microsoft certified trainer since 2020. So that is a brief introduction of myself. So today I'm going to talk about Microsoft Fabric. But before I talk about Microsoft Fabric, I want to briefly give you an understanding of the overall data analytics ecosystem. So it is very important to understand what is the overall data analytics ecosystem before you actually go and jump into Fabric, so that you should be aware that okay, Fabric is something that is not something that has come overnight. It has been there for many years. It's just that Microsoft has brought everything under one umbrella, and the entire data analytics ecosystem is now you can just through the Microsoft Fabric interface, you can just go and access that interface. Then I'm going to talk about the DP-600 exam, specifically how you can use the Microsoft resources which are freely available to prepare for the exam, and how people have built content based on this Microsoft Learn modules. but a lot of people have used these modules to actually clear the exam. And then what is the way forward working in Fabric? And if there is any question and answer, questions from the audience, I'm going to answer the questions as well. So let's briefly start by understanding what is the data analytics ecosystem. So I'm sure everybody must have heard about this terminology that data is the new oil. So this terminology, I don't know who actually is the first person who used this terminology, but it has been there for many years. But it is uh, important to understand that why data is the new oil. So I'm going to just give you a very crude example. So let's first have a look at the oil ecosystem. So if you look at the oil ecosystem, there is this diagram here that shows a rig which could be on land, which could be in the sea as well. And the ecosystem actually starts once you have the oil extracted from either below the sea or below the earth through the rig, and then the final destination of this crude oil after passing through all these processes is the layer, or this part of the diagram where you can see that it is being served to people. So you can use it in the form of petrol, diesel, all kinds of fuels, aviation fuels, and there are so many other uses of oil. So if you just have a look at this diagram and have a look at these 5 headings that are now visible on the screen now. So the first step of any oil exploration, once the exploration is done, is the extraction process. So once you have a rig in place, you actually go and extract the oil. So that is the first step. Then you need to have some kind of an ingestion mechanism from which actually takes the oil from the rig and takes it to the central refinery, which we call as the factory, or which we call as the oil refinery. But the process that actually takes place is basically the refinement of the oil. So here we can say that this is the layer where the processing of the oil, the crude oil or the raw oil, actually takes place. Then the next step is the enrichment, where the different kinds of enrichment is done to the crude oil, and then we have different extracts like petrol, gasoline, diesel, aviation fuel, lubricants. All of these actually are just enrichment processes that take place on the crude oil, and then finally it is served to the people. So if you have this diagram in mind, it is very easy to switch from the oil ecosystem to the data ecosystem. So what actually happens is that in data, we also have these 5 layers. So these 5 layers actually define the end-to-end data analytics system. So here in the extraction, we have different kinds of data. So by different kinds, I mean there are different sources of data. Like the data could be on your laptop, on your machine, on your local network. It could be sitting on a file in your PC, or it could be sitting somewhere in the cloud. It could be coming from a sensor, an IoT sensor. It could be coming from anywhere. So we have different, sources of data. Then similarly, we have different types of data. By type, I mean there is a different structure of data. So in data analytics, the what we call as the structured data has rows and columns, but not necessarily every form of data is structured. So you have unstructured data, just like a video or an image. Then you can have some kind of a semi-structured data, just like the CSV format that we have, or the XML format, or the HTML format. So there is some kind of structure, but it is not essentially the rows and columns that database developers or people who are actually using data in their day-to-day work, they are familiar with. So we have all these kinds of variety of data. And what the first step in the data analytics ecosystem is that somebody would come here and connect to this information and extract the data and bring it to a central repository. So like in the oil, we had some kind of an oil refinery. So here we have something which we call as a data factory. So inside a data factory, you have basically 2 things. One is a storage area or a storage medium, and the other is the processing medium. And everything that brings all this data, whether it is in the cloud, whether it is on your on-premise data source, some sensor, this mechanism is called as the ingestion of data. So you have different kinds of pipelines that are running and bringing all of this data to this central area. Now, the actual fun process starts once you have the data here, and now you actually start applying what we call as transformations. We start to clean the data. We perform different transformations, like we pivot the data, we unpivot the data, we perform so many other transformations to bring the data into a particular shape, into a particular structure, into a particular data model, which is ready for analysis. So it's not a simple case of just connecting with the data, just bringing in whatever data is there. You have to actually go through this whole exercise. And this exercise, people who are familiar with data pipelines, they know that there are data engineers, there are data warehouse engineers who actually go and actually build all these pipelines, and they are responsible for actually automating the structure. There is a technical terminology which says orchestration, where the orchestration means that every process has a sequence. You can't actually just go and randomly perform these operations. So once this data is there inside what we can say is a data factory, then you can either start building reports or start doing analysis, which is looking at the historical data, which is like what happened yesterday, what was my sales 2 months ago. So everything here you are doing is based on data that was created in the past, or has some historical significance. But now we know that based on the historical data, there are certain people working in the data ecosystem who are called as machine learning engineers or data scientists, who can actually use this data to look into the future, which is called as building prescriptive analytics, or building forecasting solutions, or using the machine learning algorithms or data science to actually look into the future. So all of this, where you are actually using this data factory, but building something on top of it, enriching this data to actually meet your business requirement, your underlying problem. This is called as the enrichment of data. So all the stuff that you listen about, machine learning, data science, AI. So AI is like the buzzword these days. So all of this actually is happening as part of the data enrichment process. So data was sitting here, now it is being enriched, and then finally it has to be served. By serving, I means it has to be presented to the end user. So it can be presented in the form of a report, it can be presented in the form of a dashboard, it can be presented in the form of some app that is embedded in a website, it could be some mobile app, it could be any application that you can think of. So this is the end-to-end data analytics ecosystem. So you need to have this understanding before you actually go and understand Fabric. So what has been happening over the years, that all these areas, there were different tools that were in the market, different technologies, different vendors, and not a few, but hundreds and thousands of tools are there and technologies are there, and people used to actually go and purchase something related to data ingestion, some tool that is that you can where you can do the ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading, or ELT, or any pipelines you can build. Then there were tools where people used to build the data warehouses, the data lake houses. Then there are specific solutions that are used to enrich the data. So there are so many vendors, so many solutions out there in the market, and that has been historically the case. But and before I move forward, there are two layers in this ecosystem that actually run and cover the entire ecosystem, and these are the layers of data governance and data security. So these are there on all the layers, so that you have some kind of a data governance policy or data governance principles that actually control your whole analytics environment. And obviously everybody knows what security stands for, that data should only be visible, or at all the stages, only authorized people and authenticated people should have access to this data. So that is a very very basic requirement. So what was happening, like I explained, that we had so many solutions in the market, but what actually happened last year was that Microsoft Fabric was launched. So here, if you can see this slide, and I have taken it from a Microsoft material, which is which is available for education purposes. So here you can see some of the technologies. So it's just not all of these, just very few which are based on the Azure cloud mainly. some of the tools that have been there as part of the Microsoft Analytics portfolio. So again, these were available as either infrastructure as a service or platform as a service on the Azure cloud. Some of these are even standalone applications like Power BI. You have a part of the application that runs application or your Windows machine, and then you have some part which runs on the cloud or in the Microsoft service, which is called as a Power BI service, and it runs in the cloud. But these are just a few examples of technologies that were available within the Microsoft or the Azure, technology stack. And there are so many others. So Power BI is one of these. So Power BI has been the market leader. So I'm going to talk about Power BI in a bit. So I'd just kind of put these figures to make you understand that Power BI or Microsoft as a BI has been one of the leaders in the industry, not for the last 1 year or 2 years, for many years. But this is from the same source. This is just a overview of the vendors who are working in all these areas. So these are the people who are offering infrastructure solutions. These are the vendors who are offering analytics solutions, BI platform, visualization, analytics platforms, product analytics, log analytics, then ML and AI, machine learning and artificial intelligence. These vendors, some of the top vendors who are actually offering solutions for this particular area. And you can see there are hundreds of vendors and hundreds of products. But what Microsoft did was it brought all of the necessary tools within the Microsoft stack under one umbrella and started a new era in data analytics and AI, and this is called as Microsoft Fabric. So Microsoft Fabric is essentially a wrapper to many applications that sit under this wrapper. So you have applications sitting under Data Factory. You have applications sitting under Synapse Data Engineering. So these are essentially applications, but we call these as experiences within Microsoft Fabric. Then you have tools or experiences that talk about data science. You have tools that talk about data warehousing. So all the things that I just showed you on that end-to-end ecosystem diagram, all the tools, all those 5 areas, all the necessary tools are there inside of Microsoft Fabric now, which is just working as a SaaS solution, which is software as a service. So you don't have to worry about configuration. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff that people find a bit tedious. You just have to have a license of Microsoft Fabric. You just need to run a Fabric capacity, and everything is just there and ready for you. You don't have to actually go and configure anything. So this is Microsoft Fabric. So again, I would like to highlight the point that you just once you're talking about data analytics, there are two things: storage and compute. So what is the distribution of storage and compute? So again, this is the or the different facilities which are available. So I want to come to this particular area, which is called as the one lake. So you have certain applications sitting on top of this one lake, and this one lake is nothing but a data storage. So you have a data storage sitting at the bottom, and you have compute resources are serverless compute. So I'm not going to go into the technicalities of what is a serverless or what is what is not serverless. So essentially you have a storage layer at the bottom, you have compute layers sitting on top, and then you have certain interfaces, certain medium through which you are using this compute to talk to your storage. So like you can talk through the SQL interface, which is available as part of these applications, and you can interact with your underlying data. You can use Spark. Spark is basically an engine that allows you to run multiple programming languages, including Python, R, Java. So these Scala. So these are the languages that you can run basically on this platform, and it gives you the flexibility to perform anything that you can think about in terms of an end-to-end data analytics ecosystem requirement. You have the tools to actually go and perform the data extraction. Then you have the tools that can develop a pipeline. You can use a low code, no code environment. You either go and write your code in Python. Then you can build a end-to-end data warehouse. Either you can use SQL or you can use some low-code tool like data pipelines to actually build all of that. So it is a mechanism, or it is a medium where there is a lot of flexibility. And the beauty is that all of that is just under one umbrella. You don't have to actually go and configure or buy these different applications from different vendors. Everything is available under one roof, and you don't, because there are the applications are all integrated. So your data is just lying. Once you bring this data in the storage layer, you don't have to actually go and copy this data. Previously, people used to copy their data and bring it close to the application. Now you actually don't need to actually make copies of your data. So there is just one consolidated copy. It is just like the OneDrive. So you have a OneDrive which is there on the cloud, and you are just going for accessing information from that OneDrive and then making it available for all the other applications that are there, that are running in your ecosystem. So this was all about a high level overview of Microsoft Fabric. So now let me just go and just give you uh, an overview of how this whole thing looks like in the cloud. So let me just go there and share my screen and take you to the Microsoft Fabric environment. Let me just go there. So these are all the resources that I'm going to share in a bit. Let me just go and show you what Microsoft Fabric actually looks like in the cloud. So this is just a people, because most of the people coming into Fabric, they're coming from Power BI. So it is, the experience has a similar look to it, which a Power BI developer is already familiar with. So this is just an extension of the Microsoft Power BI service. And here you have all these tools that I just showed you as part of this one experience. So if I go into the data factory, let's say, so here I can see all the tools. So these are the tools that are actually available to me to actually go and prepare, clean, and transform the data. So I can use what are called as data flows. So this is a low code, no code environment kind of a thing. Then I have these data pipelines where I can perform the data ingestion and I can orchestrate all my processes. So all similar to what the tools like all the ETL tools in the market actually do. So this is just an ETL tool which is there. Then you can actually go and use this. These are the data workflow and API for GraphQL. These are under preview. So these technologies are being introduced as I speak. So every day there is something new coming to the platform. Then if I go and I show you the data engineering part. So here you have the option to actually write code in Python. You can open a notebook similar to what people are familiar with, a Jupyter notebook. You can just open a Jupyter notebook and then start writing code in Python and do everything that you want to do. Then again, you have the data pipeline environment available here. You can configure the Spark clusters based on your requirement. If you have a big data requirement, you can just go and run a bigger Spark cluster. So everything is there. And then obviously the data has to, once you have done the cleaning and performed everything, it has to be stored somewhere. So there are two options. Either you can build a lake house or you can build a data warehouse, depending upon what kind of data you want to store. So this is a structure that is just what you can say as a semantic layer sitting on top of your storage, where you are actually storing all of your data. So all these platforms are available on a single click. You can build an end-to-end data warehouse. Then a lot of people, they are the buzzword is there: data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence. So you also have an environment where you have your own data and you can use the notebooks to build machine learning applications. You can use pre-trained models that have been developed by Microsoft. You can just use the libraries of these models and perform different experiments and just go and solve the problem. So you have everything starting from connecting to data to actually building machine learning and data science applications on top of the same data without essentially going out of this browser environment. So this is what is a true end-to-end analytics experience that you can, that you can have inside of Microsoft Fabric. So I obviously, we don't have the time to actually go and explore this area, but last thing that I want to show you is basically Power BI. So Power BI has been there, like I showed you in the slides, that Power BI is the leader in terms of BI tools for many years. In fact, I think a couple of days ago, the annual report of Gartner was published, and again Power BI led, Microsoft led, through Power BI is leading that ecosystem. So Power BI is there in the industry for many years, and so it actually made sense to bring Power BI as part of Fabric. So now Power BI experience is basically part of the Fabric experience. So everything that you used to do in Power BI service, and even in Power BI desktop, now essentially you don't require Power BI desktop. Everything you can do inside this Fabric experience. You can just go and run Power BI inside this whole Fabric experience. So that is that is how this whole experience has been developed. It is so easy. People who are already using some of the Microsoft environments and tools, it is very seamless to transition from Power BI to Microsoft Fabric. And Microsoft has been very generous in offering almost, I would say 12 months, almost, no, not 12 months, like 14 months of free trial, Fabric free trial to its users. So now it is almost coming to an end. I don't know, maybe they even extend it again, but it has been, uh, unthinkable that an organization offers you a free trial to use a tool and play with this and experience it. So a lot of people have actually used this Fabric trial, and they have been experimenting, and they have been playing with this end-to-end analytics environment for more than, I think, 14 months now. So this is again something which is kind of unthinkable or unheard of, at least in the data community. So that was a quick overview of what Microsoft Fabric is all about. And last year, when Microsoft Fabric was launched, and I think it was in the annual event that takes place in Seattle, I think in November, where all the Microsoft folks are there from all over the world. They announced this certification on Fabric, which is called as the DP-600. So this is the code for Microsoft Fabric certification, and Microsoft announced that you can now go and appear in the Fabric certification. So what is this certification all about? So basically, this is a higher level view, or you can say just uh, because it's such a huge thing. Fabric has so many applications. It is almost impossible for a single person to be an expert of all of that. You would hardly find anybody in the entire world who would say that I am an expert in all the applications that I just showed you. So what Microsoft did was that they launched this DP-600 application certification, and they kind of picked the most commonly used, all the applications that I just showed you. All they picked up the most commonly used, and they developed a certification based on that. So there are four areas, these four areas on which the exam was actually divided, and this actually is very similar to the end-to-end analytics ecosystem that I just showed you. So this is the higher level part, where actually you are planning, you are managing, you are doing the data governance, to data security. So this is just the planning bit, and then the three other portions of the exam, they talk about the other 5 layers. So this is the prepare and serve data. So this is the layer where you are connecting to the data, building pipelines, and bringing everything in the data factory, or your central place where you have the storage and the compute. Then there is a very important thing that every person who is familiar with data analytics, and that is you have to actually build a data model, what is called as dimensional data model. So in Microsoft ecosystem, it is called as semantic models. So basically how you actually build those models and how you implement the technology behind it, that is the next section on which you are tested. And then the final section is where you actually do the analysis. So you are making computations, developing formulas, and then you are actually showcasing it or exploring it in the form of dashboards and reports. So this part is primarily what Power BI is famous for. The Power BI is famous for connecting to data models and then analyzing and exploring the data. So this was a very smartly designed exam that covered all the 5 areas that I showed you on the end-to-end analytics ecosystem. So that was the the overall syllabus for this. So there are topics that those are there, and I'm just going to show it to you in a bit. All the topics that you needed to prepare for appearing in this certification exam. And for the first time, Microsoft had actually on the Microsoft Learn, or they had created a dedicated Fabric community. So in the Fabric community, they have this dedicated website you can see, and I'm going to show it to you in a bit. This you can see the URL on the bottom of the screen. So there is this URL that was just dedicated and prepared for people to actually become a Fabric analytics engineer or qualify for the DP-600 exam. So let me just show it to you. Let me just go back to my browser and let me show it to you here. So this is how this screen looks like. So here, if you come, I have these 5 dedicated steps given to me. So if I'm starting off, I can just come here in the step 1, and Microsoft actually showcases everything that I need to prepare in the form of a skilling plan for the DP-600 exam. So there is no other Microsoft certification that I am aware of. Maybe Gulnaz and Usman would know better, but I haven't really seen any Microsoft certification where this level of effort and preparation has gone into to make sure that it is as easy as anything. So you can come here, you can look at the topics, then you have dedicated learning paths. You can have a look at video-based, lab-based exercises, and you can actually go and prepare all the skills that are required. So Microsoft did, I think they did probably more than 30 live sessions, I think over 3 different iterations, and all their experts and MVPs, they actually walk through these skills. So you have videos prepared by Microsoft MVPs to help you prepare for all the skills that are there on the exam. So that is again something that you hardly see for any certification exam. And then obviously there is material to focus on the exam, sample questions, practice assessments, all of that. So this is an area that talks about just the practice test. So you can just go there once you have done your preparation. You can actually go and test your knowledge. That am I prepared? Do I need to go back and look at a particular section? So this was, this whole 4 steps were actually prepared for just this Fabric certification. Isn't that amazing? And then within the same interface, you can just go, and if you have got the discount voucher, you can just go and make a few clicks and you can schedule your exam. So I haven't seen so many people post on LinkedIn where people have actually used this material and prepared for this exam, because this was how Microsoft actually took it from the start. So you can see, a lot of things are there related to the exam. On top of that, there are so many people as part of the Fabric community who have actually prepared material which is in addition to the material that is already there. So there is this guy, his name is Will Needham. He actually created a separate community, on a separate school community dedicated to Microsoft Fabric. And he actually made all these YouTube videos where he actually gave what you can say as tips and tricks for the exam. So a lot of people in the community, they have been promoting this exam, have been sharing this material. So it has created a very powerful Fabric community. I think this community by Will has, I think, more than 10,000 members, and there are more than 10,000 subscribers to his channel as well. I have also been a part of this community. So I have done a dedicated series as part of my newsletter on LinkedIn, where I have talked about each of the areas. I have talked, and I have also shared material prepared by other people. I have shared blogs and all of the other material that is required that can help people to prepare for this exam. So a lot of people have actually benefited from all this content that I have just shown you. So now what has happened is that the deadline for using the exam voucher actually, I think yesterday was probably the last day, or I think, in this part of the world, I think it was the early hours of today that free 100% free voucher, that expired. But there is another challenge that took place where you don't get 100% discount, but I think there was a 50% discount. So still it is a lot of it's still a 50% amount that Microsoft pays for you. So if you are interested in um, and joining the Fabric community or becoming a fabricator, you can just go and look at the challenge, and probably something would just come probably in a month's time, or maybe within this quarter, because Microsoft has these cloud challenges, AI challenges coming all the time. And Fabric is basically a very important piece of this whole data ecosystem. So something would come as part of the Fabric or DP-600 preparation, over the next few weeks and months. So have a look at that. And then if you are already a user who has cleared the Microsoft DP-600 exam, what is the way forward? So the way forward is that please do not stop the learning. Join some Microsoft community, some Microsoft certified trainer community where there are trainers who are talking about Fabric all the time. So you would stay in touch. You should stay in touch with all those trainers and try to actually work on some application of Fabric. And you are going to soon find out that a lot of job opportunities are going to come in the market where people are offering you, positions that are basically centered on just Microsoft Fabric. So it's just a matter of time because people are just looking at this platform. It has hardly been there for 1 year. So a lot of migrations are going to take place. A lot of people who have on-premises data, they are going to take their data on Microsoft Fabric. They're going to build their warehouses there. They're going to build their pipelines in Fabric. So a lot of activity is going to take place in this ecosystem. So make sure that you are, just by passing the exam and just having this certificate is not enough. Stay connected with your local Microsoft certified trainer community, the MVPs, and they are going to guide you about how to go about and use all the tools and technologies available inside of Fabric. So we as Microsoft trainers, we get special materials. We have early access to a lot of exercises, a lot of features that the community do not see in the first place. We also have access to certain resources on the Azure cloud. So a lot of people, they actually make content based on that, and it is very important to stay connected with people who are relevant for the Microsoft Fabric community. So that is the way forward for everybody who want to explore Microsoft Fabric. So that is all from my side, I guess. I think we still have around 15-20 minutes. So I would open the forum for any questions. So thank you very much for your time and patience. So over to you, Gulas, for the question and answers, if there are any.
Yes, thank you very much, Abu Bakr Alvi, for such a nice and wonderful session, very informative and very well explained. So we do have a few questions. What background experience is needed to learn Fabric? This is a question from one of our attendees. Sure.
Yeah, this is a very good question. so I shared the link, the link where you have the Microsoft Fabric page, where you have all the 5 steps. So you can just go there and actually see what is the requirement for actually entering this ecosystem and learning Fabric. So essentially, if you want to become a data analyst and you come from a background where you have an understanding of what data looks like. So I'm not expecting people who have never seen people coming from arts background, or people who are coming from a totally different humanities or linguistics background. This is obviously not for them, but anybody who is in the industry and using data for their day-to-day analysis, who are using either Excel, who are using Power BI, or they're using other tools in the market, they can actually come and join this community and they can learn Fabric. You don't have to be an expert of everything, so you don't need to learn everything. but you should be aware of what each of these applications actually offer. So you can pick and choose, because I said there is no person. I certainly don't anybody. I certainly don't know anybody who can claim to be an expert of all the applications that are available in Fabric. Nobody can be. So pick the right tools for yourself, for your requirement, but have a broader understanding of what this ecosystem is all about. Because if your organization is going to move into Fabric, there would be other members of your team who probably would be working as data engineers. If somebody is working and using data pipelines and you are the a person using Power BI, then you should be able to understand what this guy is doing. Probably you should not know hands on, okay, how I build this pipeline, but at least you should be able to understand that what is the flow of information through this pipeline, so that you can work as a team and you can develop a solution that is much more optimized. It is easier to communicate, and it is easier for people in the team to understand the requirements. So this is what is what I would recommend anybody having any real life data analysis use case. They can come with that background, not necessarily an engineer, not necessarily a computer scientist, not necessarily an IT person. You can be just a person who just knows how to use Excel for basic data analysis, and you can come and become a part of this Fabric community.
Thank you. So
Yes.
We have another question. Is Microsoft Fabric serverless?
So yeah, so like I said previously, we had these tools where most of these tools were either infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. So there you have to actually worry about serverless technologies, how to configure those. So most of the technologies that are working behind the scenes, they are serverless, but the implementation of those technologies, we don't really care about how those have been implemented, like how this is being managed. So you don't have to actually worry about any of this. You just have to through a very fast and very easy to use interface. You just go and just run the necessary application, and you are ready to go.
Okay. Is Synapse part of Microsoft Fabric?
Again, same thing. So essentially, the Synapse applications were platform as a service. So if somebody has used Synapse, you needed to go, you needed to configure a Synapse serverless pool. You needed to do a lot of things, what the pool should look like, what authentication and all of that. So essentially, that technology is still there. The technology from Synapse has been brought under the Fabric umbrella, but you don't have to worry about how to configure that application. Like for any platform as a service application, you don't have to worry about that. You just go there, open the application and start running that. But yes, to answer your question, all of the applications available within the Synapse engineering, if you go on Fabric and see, there is a section which says Synapse engineering. All the applications within Synapse engineering, they come from the Azure Synapse service from Azure.
Okay. Can you describe your experience with Power BI, including the version or features you're most familiar with?
So I've been using Power BI for I think good about 5-6 years. So I have had the opportunity to at least look at all the different features in the tool. Not necessarily use all of these in day-to-day requirements, because obviously the end problem actually dedicates. But yes, I have, if you talk about the 4 key areas, or the areas which you should master, and which are there for in your every application in the day-to-day working, those are using the Power Query. You should be familiar with the Power Query interface. You should not only be using the UI, but you should also be familiar how, if I have to write the M script, how I can write that M script. Not necessarily an expert, but if you have to write some kind of an M script, you can just go and write a few lines. Then the most important probably area is the data modeling area. So you should be a very good data modeler, dimensional data modeling. So you should be knowing how to use dimensions and facts, how to build those dimensions and facts. Then the third area is the DAX programming. So you have to be good at DAX, you should be understanding how logic is built using DAX. So that is another area. And then obviously the visualization bit where you actually go and pick the right visuals, do the formatting, and make a good report. But essentially the key is the data model and then the combination of DAX and visualization. That actually separates a basic level developer from an intermediate and expert level developer in Power BI. But that is more of practice, how many months and years you spend doing work in Power BI, as you learn Power BI, as you work in Power BI, because it is a totally hands-on tool. You can't just have a look at it and appreciate it. You have to actually sit on the computer and you have to work hours and hours. Then you actually start appreciating, okay, what are all the things. So I hope, although it's a very generic question, I've tried to answer to the best of my knowledge. But yes, this is how I have been working and I've been using the different features in Power BI.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abubakar Alvi. It was very knowledgeable session, and the way you explained the things, I really appreciate that. So guys, thank you very much for attending this session. And you can see on the screen, this is Microsoft Learn community. If you want to join the diverse, inclusive, global community of Microsoft Learn experts, you can join from the link as you can see on the screen. And the link is very much easy. You can type this link on your browser window as aka.ms/Microsoft Learn community. So you can join the experts of different technologies as far as Microsoft technologies are concerned. Also, you can join the MCT Community Pakistan Learning Room, and its link is aka.ms/MCT Community Pakistan. And the reason behind joining these learning rooms is that you can be updated for so many such events, sessions, build activities, ignite activities. If you want to have any query, if you are working in any organization, you have any technical queries, if you are stuck in something, you can post your queries over there. You will be guided by the experts. So thank you very much for attending, and please join us for the more such sessions in the future. And I wish you all the best. And thank you, Mr. Abubakar Alvi, for such a wonderful session today. I really appreciate for your time you have given to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Goodbye. Thank you.